Hello everyone, welcome back to Math by TV. In today's lesson, we're learning how to solve percent increase and percent decrease problems step by step. Now, I will say students often get confused about which number to divide by, but today I'll show you a simple pattern that works every time. With that, let's begin. And here's the main idea though. Percent change asks, how big was the change compared to where we started? And so I want you to take a look at this with me. We have percent change equals difference divided by original times 100%. Difference means how much it changed. Original means the starting amount. Then we multiply by 100 to turn the decimal into a percent. So let's begin with problem number 1, percent increase. And so this word problem reads, the price of a video game increased from $40 to $50. What was the percent increase? Okay, so the first step then is for us to find the change. All right, so we can see here that the video game price increased from $40 to $50. Okay, so we're going to take and find that change then. So it makes sense that we're going to take 40 from 50. So let me just write that out here. So 50 minus 40 equals 10. Okay, so the price increased by $10. Now we're going to work on step 2, which is to divide by the original amount. The original amount here is $40. So we're going to take 10 and divide it by 40. And we know that is equal to 0.25. All right, and this is the most important step. We compare the change to the original amount, not the new amount, okay? So now we have 0.25, and for the third step, we need to convert it to a percent. So we can do that by multiplying 0.25 by 100, and that equals 25%. And notice what you're really doing is taking and you're moving this decimal point 2 places to the right and then appending the percent sign on there, which becomes 25%. All right, so to answer the question, what was the percent increase? There was a 25% increase. And that's the final answer. All right. And so now I want to let you know this. Students often divide by 50 here by mistake. So they'll divide by 50, but percent change always compares to where you started. Okay? Let's go ahead and move on to problem number 2. And this reads, a phone dropped in price from $80 to $60. What was the percent decrease? Okay, so remember, we have to find the change for our first step. Okay, so we see that let me see that change from $80 to $60. So to find the difference, we need to subtract 60 from 80. Okay, so 80 minus 60 equals 20. Okay, so we see obviously that the price changed by $20. Now our next step, which is our second step, is to divide by the original amount. The original amount is $80. So we take 20, divided by 80, and that equals 0.25. What is the third step? What do you do here? Well, we have 0.25. That's a decimal. We need to convert it to a percent. So we do that by multiplying by 100, right? So 0.25 times 100 equals 25%. So to answer the question, what was the percent decrease? There was a 25% decrease. And that is the final answer. All right. So hopefully this is becoming easier for you. And let's go ahead and move on to problem number 3. This time I want you to pause the video and try this on your own. Okay, so this reads, a student's test score increased from 70 to 84. What was the percent increase? Okay, so we see here that we have a change from 70 to 84. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to take 70 from 84. So 84 minus 70, and that equals 14. Well, the second step is to do what? Well, we take that change, right? So there was a change in 14 points, and we take 14 and we divide it by the what? By the original, which is 70. Okay? So 14 divided by 70 equals 0.20. So now, what do you do with this decimal number? You have to convert it into a percent. How do you do that? You take 0.20 and you're simply multiplying by 100. Essentially, all you're doing is moving that decimal point 2 places to the right, and that becomes 20%. So to answer the question, what was the percent increase? There was a 20% increase. And that is the final answer. All right. Let's continue moving on here. Okay, so for problem number 4, which is the last problem that we have here, go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and solve it. So we have a coat decreased in price from $120 to $90. What was the percent decrease? Okay, so we see here that the price decreased from $120 to $90. So let's find that change. So in other words, what is the difference in that price? So 120 minus 90, you set that equal to, and that is 30. Okay, first step 2, we're going to take 30, which is that change in price, and we're going to divide it by the original amount of $120. So we'll take 30 divided by 120, and that equals 0.25. For the third step, what are you going to do? Well, we have 0.25. We need to convert that decimal number into a percent by multiplying by 100. 0.25 times 100 simply equals 25%. To answer the question, there was a 25% decrease. So 25% decrease. Final answer. And let me box that in green. All right. And so I will leave you with this simple shortcut, or actually a shortcut idea. Percent change asks, how big was the change compared to where we started? And with that, nice work today. Now you know how to solve percent increase and percent decrease problems step by step. Keep practicing and stay tuned for more calm, clear math lessons right here on Math by TV.